Diamond is Unbreakable, Part 4 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If you had seen the anime in its entirety, you notice that the narrator's perspective is from Koichi. JoJo usually circulating around the main Joestar at the time, and you would think that would be in their perspective, but for some reason, going past both Josuke and Koichi, I feel that DIU was also Rohan's story. Not as in, it's all about Rohan, but it was about Rohan, and it moved over to those who are now present in Morio. See it like this: Rohan and Kira have a history through Remy. Rohan had almost came close to the first kill of Kira, who later on in the years had Morio in his hands. And then when you have the Morio warriors and the reconnect of Rohan and Remy, it feels like they have some sort of background protagonist slash side protagonist roles. Even Volume 7 was named Rohan Kishibe's Adventure. I guess that's more of when DIU had developed their characters, so you're not gonna see it when going over Rohan when he was a minor antagonist for a bit. Revisiting that time in specific, I wouldn't even say that Rohan was actually evil. A bit insane, but he had some reasonable and understandable moments, and at the same time, he had moments where you would think that he could possibly be Kira's little brother. But for Rohan, it's all in the issue of someone trying to do the right thing just in the wrong way. It's time to revisit that time in specific, so let's go visit the mangaka's house. When first being introduced to Rohan, he had already seemed pretty abnormal and a bit terrifying. He had actually let Koichi and Hasmada into his home when he came around when being praised, and then we get to know more about Rohan's workflow, inspirations, and the secret to writing comics. This here is why I felt a connect between Rohan and Araki, the creator of JoJo. Reality is the lifeblood that makes a work pulse with energy. Reality itself is entertainment. At the same time, this isn't supposed to be taken so seriously. I doubt Araki is able to summon and manifest his fighting spirit to fight vampires, serial killers, and well, the list goes on. But to interpret this, I would say that morals, moods, and life itself has things to where they are able to be included in JoJo. For example, Rohan's reasoning in his writing. He doesn't write for the sake of making money. He writes because he wants to be read. And along with that, you have him talking about his inhibitions. First, feeling great after a job well done, but then that feeling of it's gonna go to nothing right after, because what exactly do you do when you put your hard work into something just for nothing to come out of it? For Rohan specifically, he feels that if no one bothers reading, then not knowing what to do and a loss of motivation would be shortly right after. This is where I feel that everyone can relate to it, or well, at least those that work in something that would rely on the entertainment and enjoyment of consumers. Say that you do spend a lot of time working hard on something and minimal results coming from said thing. How exactly do you even go about it? This isn't even rhetorical. I'm actually asking this. Comment below. Well, for me in specific, I try to take apart why it didn't do well, and I try to find out so it doesn't happen again. I have friends involved in art, meaning either drawing or graphic design, and I know that they would put a lot of time into said art and show it to the world with a caption of rough draft or quick drawing. The reasoning behind that is to fall back safely and hoping that no one is going to be too critical due to the caption, which is a flashing red sign of insecurities. And Rohan doesn't want to face said insecurities, so what exactly does he do here? Well, he attacks two high schoolers and steals the memories of one of them, which probably isn't the best way to go about this. And you know, what really puzzles me though, with having underlying insecurities, Rohan has really strong confidence. I had found this in an interview of Rohan when revisiting the manga, where it shows that Rohan really has no person that he looks up to. Going even deeper than that, he believes that there's not a single person above or even equal to him. He also believes that there's not a single thing more important to him than his manga, and I wouldn't even say that's a selfish thing either. In Rohan's perspective, his work really is his everything. It dictates how he feels, his relevancy, his money, and other aspects that are highlights in someone's life. So, there's nothing really else in Rohan in that case. Anything else is a possible bonus, but it isn't necessary to his happiness. Having so much riding on one thing is pretty stressful, and having nothing to fall back on is another nail in the coffin if that one thing was to ever fail. But what if you had something to get the results that you wanted tenfold? In Rohan's case, it was other people's memories, but it was for his literal everything, which probably doesn't make what he did okay, but hopefully it lightens it up a bit. Okay, well, he was kind of okay with killing Koichi for the sake of his manga, and yeah, it's kind of messed up. But after getting brutally beaten by Josuke, Rohan had turned a new leaf, and I'd like to believe that he thought about it and realized he should write more on his own experiences. Rohan had stayed on hiatus until part 4 was over, and the last clip of him was doing his hand exercises while being a reference, means that he was getting back into it. Along with that, it even says that the serialization has returned, so his character came together, a full roundabout. When he came in, he had a huge problem due to the only thing that had mattered to him. His problem being solved because of, well, human interactions and friends, which hopefully he realized it's okay to like people. I mean, well, I would hope after a bond of him and Koichi and after the whole Cheap Trick incident, or chasing down a serial killer who had been around for 17 plus years. But after rewatching Koichi's narration and perspective, JoJo being JoJo, about JoJo, and sometimes written in the perspective of JoJo, and Rohan's history bound to the plot, I had realized something. Everyone has a plot that you can actually distinguish pretty well. And before you call me out on it, that it's just development, this case is somewhat different, I swear. Everyone has a main goal for the most part of JoJo, and it was common. It was mainly to find the killer. But when it comes to specific characters, everyone needs something for the most part, and they get said thing by the end of DIU. And for example, Koichi as a character needed development and growth. The events of DIU had made him stronger and a trusting character. Rohan needed closure and inspiration for his manga. He got exactly that. More on the inspiration part because that's what makes Rohan. Closure. See, closure was a common goal for everyone due to Remy being the center of plot and attention, but onto the inspiration for Rohan, it's actually amazing to have a perfect give and receive situation, giving time to live and receiving material for his art. Plus, that's allowing him to not be like everyone I know during the summer and lets him leave the house once in a while. My friends don't hit me up anymore, it's sad. Rohan has so much to experience in his life, and that alone is great for strengthening his writing as a mangaka. You can also catch up on Rohan's experiences through the upcoming OVA. Or, you can just read it, and you can read the other things he got involved in. He has multiple one-shots, guys. You don't have to just, wait for part 5. Do something. Please. Please. But when it comes down to the line, Rohan was probably top 3 favorite characters for me in the show. I had really liked his character in the other types of episodes like the Mikitaka or the Highway Star episode, or well, I guess arc. Apparently that's how that all works. If you want highlighting Rohan moments, there really is a lot, especially in arcs like those. There's Josuke versus Rohan saving Ken, the Janken kid, Rohan versus Highway Star, and then there's Rohan versus Cheap Trick. In Josuke vs. Rohan shows how adamant he can get when someone is trying to play him. He also punishes himself due to not being able to figure out what Josuke has been doing, and it's not because he's getting played. It goes back to him believing that everyone is under him. So if someone who's supposed to be under him is playing him, he's feeling humiliated. He's even going as far as to think that Josuke is laughing at him because Rohan hasn't figured out what's going on, while Josuke is actually just terrified of getting caught. And also, he dresses pretty nice in this episode too. And oh yeah, Rohan also really does hate Josuke, so there's that. Then there's Rohan versus Ken, which had happened before Josuke versus Rohan, but correlates with Rohan versus Highway Star. When establishing his win over Ken, he tells Ken that he's going to destroy his stand, and along with that, he would set his fate in stone so that he would never win a single game of Janken ever again. While doing that, Rohan slowly approaches menacingly, then Ken, in a response to Rohan's attempt, tries to kill himself because he'd rather die than let someone control his fate and his heart, which is probably the only cool thing that he had did. Rohan thinks that his act of freedom is amazing and says the kid has got guts, so he can't just let someone like that get away. Rohan loves when someone has the ability to say no to someone with an overwhelming power over them, and he thinks it's just the coolest thing ever. Ring that up, that leads into the Highway Star encounter, where Highway Star offers Rohan his life in exchange for Josuke's. And getting this straight again, Rohan doesn't like Josuke at all in this moment. And this was right after the whole Mikitaka dice incident. So Rohan and Josuke are going through the motions as we speak. But even after all of that, he's able to look Highway Star dead in the eyes and say the iconic line, "Daga kotowaru," or well, "I refuse." Then he gives his reasoning right after that, which follows why he likes the Janken kid's will. The one thing I, Kishibe Rohan, likes more than anything else is finding people who think they're hot shit and saying no straight to their faces. This guy's Mr. Hot Stuff, pretends not to care about people, says no to death, and has the ability to control everything about a person. Rohan is such a character. Like, he's an anime character that makes anime characters and likes when his fellow anime characters act like anime characters. He acts anime while being anime, creating anime inside of an anime. Caleb, Rohan is kind of an enigma. No, viewer, no, don't be a dummy. His stand is heaven's door, not enigma. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe so you'll be updated whenever I post a video. Both show support and mean a lot to me, and shows me, well, I'm not fucking up. And if you guys are active Amazon users, you guys can go use my affiliates link in the description. Just basically anytime you click there and you get whatever you want, you're inside your cart or whatever it's called, it's no extra charge and I get a kickback off of it. It's like small little thing, supports me a little bit, just a little bit, and Prime Day is coming up, so there's that. I'll see you guys in the next one though. So until then, peace out and Godspeed.